Hello everyone and welcome to Thursday's edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. Now I need to start the show with a public apology. I need to apologise to Miguel Angel Lopez. Not only him, but also Michael Landa and also the whole of the Bahrain McLaren team. And on top of that, I should really apologise to Primoz Roglic. Yesterday's video, I was disrespectful to their efforts. I came on here and I said yesterday's stage was pretty boring. It didn't really provide the fireworks that I was expecting. And that's unfair of me to say that. I should be reporting this as a neutral, but I was just so excited for Tadej Pogačar to do something. I wanted the underdog to come through. I wanted him to really take it to Primoz Roglic, but that never happened. And I lost sight of everything else that was wonderful in that stage. And for that, I apologise to everyone watching, and I apologise to those men who have no idea who I am and what this channel's about. But I do feel like I should apologise to them. So, gents, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get on with today's show. And once again, I caught up with Laura Fletcher from the Peloton Brief to find out some apps. You are gonna want to hear this. She came with some balling facts about Tony Martin. Where do you want to start today?
I don't know. I've lost track. What week are we in? How many days are left of the tour? What's happening?
No idea. I kind of feel, I'll be honest, like it could all change today, but I feel like the tour's over.
A little bit, yeah.
I think everybody thought that yesterday when they saw what happened. It was kind of like, yes, come on. No.
No.
That's kind of it now.
I'm really looking forward to the Giro.
Well, that's it. Yeah, everyone's attention is now on the Giro. Right. Yeah. Come on. We must have got some gossip. You must have got something.
Well, like I mentioned to you in a message, I mean, my random tidbit of gossip this week is that there's a rumor that Tony. Well, I've heard two versions of the rumor. One is that Tony Martin eats a dozen eggs for breakfast every morning, but then apparently the more factual thing is he actually eats about 6 eggs for breakfast every morning, which is still actually insane. 6 eggs a day? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Every morning.
Surely you'd get... What? Surely you'd get
like... a bit gassy, huh?
Yeah, and a bit bunged up. Surely it's not going to move the way it's supposed to, unless he has so much coffee, he needs to have that many eggs to keep him...
To sort of...
balanced.
Balance it all out.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I worked with Tony for a year when I was at Katusha, and I'm really upset that I never paid attention to what he was eating for breakfast.
Oh, you should have, yeah.
Because I could have proven it. Don't think I ever paid any attention. Giro Rosa first, happening now, stage 7 today, so a few days left.
Have you been watching it?
Oh yeah, I mean watching it, aka turning on the Trek Twitter to get the finish line shot, and following the rather brilliant tweeting of Owen Rogers under the UCI Women's World Tour Twitter account. Everybody should check that out. He's doing the best he can, but it's definitely difficult to pay attention to this race. Following it is next to impossible. But
before we talk about the race, what the hell is going on there? What's the problem? What's the issue? Why? Surely we should be at a stage now where this is getting all the promotion it needs. Yes, it's during the Tour de France, which is going to kick it a little bit, but still we should be able to see live pictures from this race.
More or less, if you think about it. Yes, the Giro Rosa, the race should have been providing 40 minutes of live coverage, which I think a lot was let to slide this year because of the situation and the economic situation that a lot of people are in.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you think about it, yes, the Giro Rosa could say, okay, we're going to hire a film production crew and we're going to stick it on YouTube every day, YouTube Live. But think about the cost of that. So normally when you've got a host broadcaster at the tour, you've got the camera crew doing it, the helicopters in the sky, all of that, which is actually all part of it because you actually need the relay in the sky. So it's usually a plane, I think, that actually circles around, does the live relay. The cost is really big. The way that cost is offset is by the broadcasters buying into the TV rights. So if you're Eurosport and you've got the tour on uninterrupted coverage, Tirreno, all this other stuff on during this week, do they think it's going to be worth it? Are they going to pay for it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you
get.
got,
Yeah.
so it's not that it's right, but you can understand in the economic times, but it is time that somebody in some way steps up. There's some sort of fund created, sort of Velon's trying to do all these things, but how can maybe Velon push this? How can they create a broadcast system for women's races? Like there's a lot of people that could be doing a bit more. It'd be great to see people step up and support the races. So
Yeah, that's yeah. I never thought of it like that actually. So that kind of makes more sense now. I don't feel so bad for them not showing it, but still, it would be nice to see because the racing has been pretty bloody full on,
yeah,
hasn't it? I mean, it depends what happens on. I think it's stage. Today's a bit of a hilly stage. Tomorrow is a
yeah,
summit finish, so it might end up being similar to the Tour de France with Annemiek
yeah,
just going away from everybody because she still looks like
yeah.
she's on good form, doesn't she?
Yeah. I think it was great to see Elisa in the leader's jersey after the first day, first
Yep.
Italian to wear the jersey in a decade or more, I think. So that was a phenomenal result for her and for track. There's the rest of the race. It's been exciting. It's been great trying to watch it, see a lot of strong riders out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be really interesting ahead of Worlds because I know a lot of the girls are testing their legs against each other ahead of the World Championships next week. A lot will actually just stay through. They'll go from this race to the World. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
Laura,
but what's it been like? I don't know.
yeah, it's you watch this 5 or 10 minutes of highlights and you kind of get a small inclination as to what's going on, but you don't really get the full picture of who's feeling good, who's going on the offensive, what the team tactics are. You're just kind of picking the bones out of it. You're not really getting a good idea, and it's 5 minutes of highlights are better than nothing, but at the same time you want to see the action.
Exactly. If anybody's looking for some really great video content to watch, check out the Ceratizit WNT videos that they're doing this week with Sean Hardy. They've been phenomenal. Sean's biased. Sean's a good friend of mine, but he's brilliant filmmaker, and he can really show some great insight into the race. So check those out for a bit of color. The main thing I would really say, and this is sort of like the overall take on it, is just click on the stuff. Just watch the highlights packages. Just follow the links, like the Twitter, like the Instagram, give them the hits and show the organizers that there is interest in it.
Yeah.
And this shows the broadcasters as well when they say, actually, like the highlights package got this many hits. Like if we put it, so it's sort of, we complain, but we have to actually do that really simple thing. And I actually think I put out a post last week that said, like, do you want to support women's cycling? Just follow the teams. Like,
yeah.
We complain, but like you look at most of the women's cycling teams, the ones that the accounts aren't the same as the men's teams, and they have 10,000 followers minus Kenya and SRAM, which has a huge following, but just give them a follow. And that helps so much. Like, yeah, you can follow individual athletes, but follow the teams because the teams are the ones that are getting the sponsors. They're getting the money into cycling. So
yeah, the teams are pretty proactive in the women's peloton as well, making sure that they're getting out that content in the social world, aren't they? You might not get to see the whole highlights and the race, but you definitely get to see a lot behind the scenes as to what's going on.
Yeah.
With those
so
teams.
Just click on them, give them a follow. Maybe if you want, you can put the handles in the comments in your thing, and
I will do. I'll do it.
All right.
Give me extra work, Laura. Why don't you? Cracking insight there from Laura on the women's peloton as to why there is no televised Giro Rosa this year. Fingers crossed that we're going to get that sorted to the point where eventually the women are getting as much TV coverage as the men's race, and you can't say it's not entertaining. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place at the minute, I guess, with everything that's going on. But it's a great insight, and like she says, the links are down in the description to various different teams. If you want to add anybody's on Twitter, on Instagram, or anybody who you follow and you enjoy their content, then leave them down in the comments. But talking of the Giro Rosa, today's stage, bad news coming out of Mitchelton Scott, it appears, and we're still waiting to get confirmation on this, so it's not a fact at the minute. However, it has been reported that Annemiek van Vleuten came down in a crash and broke her wrist. Not only her, but also Amanda Spratt was involved in that crash, as well as a few other riders. Again, we're still waiting on conditions for all the riders, but it appears that the race leader of the Giro Rosa could potentially not be starting tomorrow if that wrist is badly broken. I mean, I've tried doing all sorts of stuff with a broken wrist, and riding a bike over 100 kilometers, however many kilometers they're doing over the next couple of days, nah, I could barely whisk eggs. So, all right, let's talk Tour de France now, and stage 18 was the last chance really prior to that time trial of riders being able to get themselves a higher position on that GC. There was a few climbs in there, potential places to attack. Let's find out now what happened in the stage. Well, the stage started with a mass brawl, it didn't really, a mass breakaway with around 20 riders going up the road, and one man you'll see in there was the man who's attacked for the past couple of days now and wanted to go on the attack, clearly wanted a stage victory. Richard Carapaz. But coming up to the summit of the first climb, Richard Carapaz and Mark Hirschi both found themselves off the front sprinting for those points. And all of a sudden it appeared, well, Richard Carapaz could potentially put himself into the polka dot jersey if things went the right way for him now. So potentially he wasn't aiming for that stage victory and he was looking to try and gain some points back on that polka dot jersey. And with these two battling it out, it actually started to splinter that front group. Eventually, these two got up the road on their own, and they were joined by another 3 riders, including Mikhail Kwiatkowski, Peo Bilbao, and Nicholas Ide. And on the second summit of the day, once again, it was a battle between Hirschi and Carapaz. And once again, Hirschi showing his sprinting prowess, taking full points at that polka dot jersey summit. Onto the third ascent of the day, and it was the same story again. Carapaz still taking points over Pogacar, but it was Hirschi who was taking maximum points once again. But unfortunately, his day would come to an abrupt end on this left-hander. He just lost the front end, clearly pushing too hard, trying to keep up with Kwiatkowski. He crashed out of the front group, and that was the last they would see of him. He did try and get back on, and he put in some immense efforts to try and make sure that he got back to that front group, but they were just doing enough to keep him away, and the delay that he had in that crash meant that he'd never see them again. Meaning on the 4th ascent of the day, Kwiatkowski and Peo Bilbao allowed Richard Carapaz to take maximum points, meaning he closed up once again on Pogacar and that polka dot jersey. Now back in the peloton and starting that final Hoare category ascent, once again, Bahrain McLaren trying to do something. At least they were doing something, showing spirit and showing that Michael Landa might have just been on an off day yesterday. Both Landa and Pouls came out of the peloton, started accelerating and started to drop the train of Jumbo-Visma. Could this have been the moment that they've been waiting for all tour, to secure himself in folklore and take it to the GC contenders? Well, we'll find out in a second, because what that actually did with that increase in pace meant that GC contender Rigoberto Urán was dropped. Adam Yates was also dropped. While Jumbo-Visma were chasing down Michael Landa on the climb at the top of it, Richard Carapaz once again took maximum points in the polka dot jersey. It was then the turn of Enric Mas from Movistar to try and ignite a breakaway. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. However, what it did do was decimate that peloton behind him. They eventually caught Landa, but you can see in there, Sepp Kuss was in there, Tadej Pogacar was in there, race leader Primož Roglic, Enric Mas, Miguel Angel Lopez and Richie Porte. Once again, Richie Porte, don't forget we're at stage 18 now, and he's had no bad luck. This could be, a podium could be on for this man. Oh, I take that back. On the final gravel section, Richie Porte suffered a puncture. And Pete Kenny said this in commentary, why put a gravel section on the Tour de France, on stage 18, at the top of a mountain? Just why? Put it at the start. Chris Boardman also had a good point. Like, with cobbles, skills involved. You've got to be a good bike handler when it comes to cobbles, to ride over the cobbles and make sure you get through it relatively safe. On gravel, it's just luck. And any one of those riders could have picked this puncture up, but it was Richie Porte who ended up picking it up. There was no support from Trek Segafredo at the side of the road with spare wheels. He had discs in, so it meant he couldn't get any wheels from the neutral service, so he had to wait for his car. And you can see here, the GC contenders were still applying that pressure across that gravel, still pushing hard, heading towards that descent. Thankfully, Richie Porte found himself in a group with Wout van Aert and Tom Dumoulin, Damiano Caruso. And luckily for Porte, Wout van Aert and Tom Dumoulin were both prepared to work to try and close that gap up so they could be back there with their leader. Now, while all this was going on, 3 minutes ahead on the road, we had Mikhail Kwiatkowski and Richard Carapaz. Well, it looked like they were out on a Sunday stroll together. Now, out of these two riders, who deserves the win more? Kwiatkowski has been there for years, relentlessly working for his team leader. Richard Carapaz, for the past couple of days now, has been on the front, attacking, trying to secure that stage victory. Leave your comments down below. Who would you have given the victory to? For me, Kwiato all the way. Just for the years and years and years and years and years of service that he's put into other people, he thoroughly deserved the chance to get a stage victory. And don't forget, Richard Carapaz, by this point, had secured that polka dot jersey. So he knew he was going to be getting a jersey tonight. So it was only fair to give it to Kwiato for the effort that he'd put in, not only on this stage, but also throughout his whole career, taking the first ever Tour de France victory here on stage 18. So Richard Carapaz and Mikhail Kwiatkowski pretty much single-handedly saving the Tour de France for Ineos Grenadiers. It looked like they were going to come away empty-handed, but it looks likely now they've come home with a stage win, at least one, and also that polka dot jersey looks to be secured by Carapaz. So all in all, I mean, when they'll look back at it and they'll not be happy that they've not won, but also they've salvaged something from a disastrous tour. But it's great to actually see them have free rein to go up the road. Like we've seen Carapaz just going on the attack. How many times this week? We saw Dylan van Baarle going on the attack this morning. And then we saw Kwiatkowski as well in there. And you wouldn't have got the chance to have done that had Egan Bernal been anywhere on that GC. Even if he was still 6th, 7th, 8th, they probably still would have worked for him to ensure that he saved that position. But really, what they did today was, I mean, when was the last time you saw two teammates coming over the line 3 minutes ahead of the rest of the riders? It was no less than Kwiatkowski deserves. Now, in other news, Sam Bennett made the time cut, meaning that essentially the green jersey now is his for the taking all the way into Paris. Richard Carapaz, he's now in that polka dot jersey. And in terms of GC, not a great deal happened. Richie Porte, on one hand, was the unluckiest man once again at the Tour de France. But on the other hand, he was so lucky that he still had Wout van Aert and Tom Dumoulin there, and they were prepared to work with him to try and close that gap up, because I think had they not have been there, well, he potentially might have got back again, but it would have cost a lot of matches for him to do it. And why is it always Richie Porte? I mean, when's this guy going to get a break? So there we have it. We are out of the Alps and heading up towards that final time trial on Saturday that will determine the winner of this year's Tour de France. But I think it's safe to say, touch wood, because I wouldn't want anybody to lose it now from the effort that the guys are putting at Jumbo-Visma. You would not wish that on anybody. So hopefully, fingers crossed, what we see now, it'd be nice to see some riders close it up a little bit, potentially a few changes here and there, and some really outstanding results on that time trial. But I think the way the podium's looking right now, it's probably how it's going to stay as they head into Paris. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you've not done already, hit that notification bell. We're almost finished with the Tour de France now, so get that notification bell pressed. Nothing's going to change. Thanks for watching. If you've disliked it for whatever reason, hit that dislike button, see if I care. And I'll see you tomorrow.